everybody, welcome back to the Evermore YouTube channel. It's Chris back with a What's the Crack with That, the small brother of What's Going On, hence that little title up there, where we're going to talk about what's going on in the world of football and how it maybe impacts Newcastle United. We're going to get stuck right into this in a minute because you all know one of the big dogs is in serious trouble with FFP. So we're going to get stuck right into this in a second. Just before we do a little gentle reminder, if you haven't already, please click that subscribe button. We'd love you to come and join us. We are only, I think, about 12 subscribers away from 2,500. So smash that button, come and join us. All free content here, 2 live shows Mondays and Wednesdays, and pop-up videos just like the one you're about to watch. So what we're talking about, we're obviously talking about Manchester City. Manchester City are in soapy bubble, Barney rubble. They're in trouble with FFP. So they've been charged by the Premier League for apparently not one, not two, but 100 breaches of the Premier League's financial rules over a 4-year investigation. And these were from 2009 to 2018. So basically, in essence, it's the club has spent more than they've made, effectively, is what Manchester City have been found, allegedly found guilty of. Now, Manchester City have obviously responded to this with very much one of these kind of, statements. So Manchester City FC is surprised by the issue of these alleged breaches of the Premier League, particularly given the extensive engagement and vast amount of detailed materials within the EPL, which is provided with. The club welcomes the review of this matter by an independent commission to impartially consider the comprehensive body of irrefutable evidence that exists in support of the position. So basically, that's Manchester City saying we've got massively expensive lawyers that'll find all kind of loopholes, probably find God knows what kind of pictures of the Premier League directors in compromising positions, and they'll probably get away with this. But it's a very interesting turn of events, really. So I mean, Manchester City were I think they were found guilty about this not too long ago, and they were threatened with an expulsion from the European competitions, if you remember. Now, they won that case, they got that overturned, and obviously they were still able to compete in Europe. I'm just looking there. So in 2020, the European Football and Governing Body, UEFA, that is, committed City of serious breaches between 2012 to 2016. And a 2-year ban was overturned by the Court of Arbitration. Now, I'm not a lawyer, but City obviously got very good lawyers, so they've managed to wriggle out of this problem. But this one is domestic. This isn't Europe. This is domestic. This is the Premier League, and this is a really, really interesting set of circumstances. And it does impact Newcastle United. Why does it impact Newcastle United? So Newcastle United is one of the richest clubs in the world, right? By one of the richest people in the world, the PIF, Saudi Arabia. However you feel about them is however you feel about them. I understand the reasons why. It doesn't change the fact that they are absolutely fucking loaded. And they've been very reserved, I think, with the spend at Newcastle United. Yes, people are saying we spent 200 million quid in the transfer window on Trippier, Bruno, Botman, Byrne, everybody else. But we spent fuck all for God knows how long under Mike Ashley. He would barely fix the taps in the toilet. He was that much of a skinflint. So the money that they spent was probably money long overdue, needed to be spent on adding to that squad. So that is an irrelevant argument for me. But they haven't gone massive, these guys. They haven't gone and bought Mbappe and Neymar and Messi and all these other people that these nutcase, fanaticists were thinking about when they bought the club, buying all these players with your blood money. That's Chelsea. Chelsea are doing that. Chelsea don't have blood money anymore because they got rid of him. But they're going mad. They've got some kind of cheat code on FIFA, and they're buying up everybody they can, stretching over 95-year terms so they can spread the payments. That loophole will get closed as well pretty soon. But Newcastle United have always been very reserved, I think, with the way that they've followed FFP. Even signed Anthony Gordon for 40 million quid plus 5. How was talking about balancing the books. We've seen Chris Wood go. We've seen John Joe Shelby go their wages off the books. We know John Joe was a high earner. But this whole City thing could have a real interesting change on things. Now, people are talking about points deduction for them. People are even talking about relegating from the Premier League, which I don't think the Premier League will do, because the Premier League have backed themselves right into a corner here, and it's morals versus money for them. Manchester City make them money, no doubt about that, from a commercial element. Pep Guardiola's commercial appeal, Erling Haaland's commercial appeal. People like that within City that they don't want to lose from the top flight Premier League. So that's not going to happen. City are not going to get relegated. That to me is simple. It's not going to happen. They will probably get either a fine, maybe a European ban potentially. I don't know if that goes back on the table, but it's not UEFA. This is the Premier League. So they might get a points deduction. Now, if they get a points deduction, it's negligible really for them. They'll probably claw it back. They might not win the title that season or something like that. Who knows? But this is going to take a long time, that's for sure. So it will be expensive and it will drag on, is what they were saying. And, Mark talked a little bit about this on What's Going On, that this won't just happen now. So you're going to get a 10-point deduction now and end up 6th or 7th in the league. This is going to be a year and a half, 2 years probably down the line before anything even happens with this whatsoever. Pep Guardiola might not even be there at that particular point. He might have pissed off somewhere else. But this will be interesting for Newcastle United, because if the Premier League don't react to this and they don't punish Manchester City for 100 breaches of their FFP, then what's the point of having FFP? What's the point of Newcastle United being reserved? What's the point of us not going out and spending 200 million quid every transfer window on 2 or 3 50 million pound players, or 4 50 million pound players? My maths was shit there. 4 50 million pound players. What's the point? What's the point in even having it? If it's just going to be a points deduction or slap on the wrist, it doesn't matter. And they cannot come down heavy on Newcastle United if they've let City off with a bit of a slap on the wrist and a six-point deduction or something like that. So this is going to be really, really interesting, I think, for how this has a ripple effect on the rest of the Premier League. Chelsea have got to finish the Champions League this season, or they're seriously fucked. They'll breach FFP because they will not bring in the commercial revenue that the Champions League will bring with all of these players, all this outlay, all these wages that they've just thrown at everything. They will not get top 4. I don't give a fuck who they sign. If they sign Superman and Batman, they wouldn't get top 4. No chance. Absolutely no chance. They are way off the pace. And I saw them against Fulham the other night. All that talent on the pitch, yes, it's going to take time to click, but that's the point. It'll take time to click. You're not going to be able to just bang, walk in the top 4. Ted Bolley's an absolute fucking idiot for me. He's just throwing money at the kitchen sink. It's not going to work for Chelsea. Chelsea are going to be fucked next season, and I will laugh my balls off. But going back to the Manchester City thing, if they are not punished, this to me opens up the gates for Newcastle United to be a little bit more, I don't want to use the word ambitious, but a little bit more what is the right word? Just a little bit more adventurous, maybe a little bit more flash with the cash. Maybe that's the right word for it. Flash with the cash. Throw a bit of cash around, chuck 50 million at him, chuck 60 million at him, get him in, put your weekly wages up so you can entice the kind of players that you want to entice, especially if you finish top 4, because they're not going to come and play for 120 grand a week. I'm sorry, but that is the case. You don't leave a company for a wage drop. And, whether we like it or not, these players look at businesses, look at football clubs like businesses. Yes, they play football for a living, but they're not going to leave somewhere and take a massive drop in wages, regardless of how amazing the fans and the flags are and everything else. It comes down to the weekly wages for them. That's probably why we didn't sign Yuri Tillemans. He wanted 200 grand a week, and the club didn't want to pay him it. To be fair, Tillemans, his form this season doesn't warrant 200 grand a week, but that seems to be the going rate for a footballer. But we'll be talking about loads of this, I'm sure, as the weeks progress. Yes, but this is really, really interesting. I think all Newcastle United fans will be keeping an eye on exactly what the Premier League are going to do about Manchester City. Are they all bark, or do they have any bite? Time will tell, but it's a very interesting turn of events, and it could definitely impact Newcastle United moving forward. But this is Chris Dunn with What's the Crack with That. Hope you enjoyed it. As I mentioned at the start, if you haven't already, consider subscribing. We'd love you to come and join us. Help bump us over that 2,500 subscriber mark. We'd absolutely love it. And if you can, like this video, help get it around YouTube. It really helps the channel grow. We're going to be back with ever more content soon. Nothing's ever calm in the Premier League, especially with Newcastle United as well. We've got loads of stuff to talk about in the coming weeks. So make sure you check us out, guys, and have a great day wherever you are. Catch you later. Cheers.